Gone, but not forgotten. The impacts of the 2023 legislative session still linger. What passed and what didn't. The chair of House Education explains how it was handled in her committee. The weather today, quite a difference from a couple of weeks ago when Treefort Music Fest took over Julia Davis Park. And both seem to have taken the soul out of the sod. But Boise Parks and Rec, they aren't too worried about the revival. Springtime and the animals are on the move, heading back north, into the mountains, and across the interstate. What was seen and heard. The 2023 legislative session may have officially come to a close last Thursday, but we're still kind of within that window of assessing what lawmakers did over their 12-plus weeks in town. Before the session, we knew Idaho getting some sort of education savings account set up to send public money to private education was a high priority for, well, a minority of lawmakers. And one of them made it through the Senate Education Committee. That would be Senate Bill 1038, but that one failed on the floor. After that vote in late February, we were told to watch for a few possible ESA bills coming up through the House side. And they were brought up, but they just never made it out of the House Education Committee. And we learned why during a hearing on March 2nd.
I have kept a file with all the emails that are coming in, and it's easily, I haven't counted absolutely all of them, but it's easily 5-1 that people in the state are saying that they don't want this.
I've had an overwhelming number of emails to support a no on, essentially no on going forward with what I call a parallel system.
My emails are running at least 5-1 against from my district. And I share the same district with Cloud. That's probably part of my concern here.
Yeah, 5-1 against from the same district as a lawmaker who was proposing it. That would be Representative Clow. Well, we thought we would find out. And according to the thousands of emails members of the House Education Committee got during these debates, that'd be McCann, Sauter, and Lanting, as you just saw. Well, they were right. It was overwhelmingly against any sort of ESA. Like this, for an example. Dear Representative Greg Lanting, public dollars belong in public schools. Please protect our public schools and vote no on the ESA vouchers. There's no oversight, accountability, and they have been a disaster in other states. Be smart and vote no. I've been an educator for 21 years and a teacher in Idaho for 11 of those. I've taught in one of Idaho's public schools that already shows the effects of chronic underfunding. School district in Post Falls already has a $39 million of deferred maintenance projects. ESAs and vouchers are simply not necessary in our state. We already have programs that allow parents' choice in Idaho. I'm writing to ask you vote no on ESA vouchers. I've lived in Haley for more than 40 years, and I have one grandchild in elementary school in Boise. One is going to attend the same elementary school next year. Taking money from my grandson's school to support private schools, mostly for kids that can already afford to go there, is unfair and will hurt children like ours. I have friends in Salmon, other small rural towns, and they say they don't need them. In fact, no rural school can afford to lose funding for their schools. Don't be fooled by the siren song of the Idaho Freedom Foundation, this one says, the Mountain States Policy Center, or factions of similar ilk who seem to be the primary purveyors of indoctrination tactics within Idaho. Moving forward with these schemes will erode the funding base for public schools and may be used for religious or sectarian purposes. Private education is unregulated, not bound by any of the requirements public schools must follow. And there were several of these, a lot of them coming through in like form letters, so we only shared the ones that were personally written with you, or at least a few of them. So you can see why the House Education Committee failed to pass any sort of voucher or education savings account or opportunity program bill, whatever you want to call it. The same could be said for any library bill that came through that committee, of which there were two. The one that did pass all the way to the governor's desk, by the way, that would be House Bill 314. That one bypassed the House Ed Committee and went through State Affairs, to the chagrin of at least the House Ed co-chair. The House Ed Committee was an eventful one, to say the least, this session. So we wanted to get a session assessment from the committee chair. That'd be Republican Representative Julie Yamamoto from Caldwell. A retired teacher and principal, she has seen how schools and libraries operate from the inside and didn't really buy into many of these outside views. It was her first session as committee chair, and Representative Yamamoto said she saw the same thing from her constituents in District 11 when it came to ESAs. Overwhelming opposition.
Madam Chair,
that's what I heard as well.
You know, if the system isn't working for a child,
I feel like that we have a system in place that allows for voices to be heard.
Parents have no option.
But what it doesn't allow is that when somebody decides they're right, and no matter how many times they've been told, well, we hear what you're saying, but this is how this is going to be, that no isn't an answer that they're willing to accept. And I think that we saw that play out over and over in House Ed as well.
It played out with ESAs
The motion has failed. So
and during the library bills debates,
If going to general orders is
highlighted by the March 1st abrupt exit from the House Ed Committee by Representative Judy Boyle.
I was just appalled that the majority of our committee thought it was okay to protect porn instead of kids. And that was the limit for me.
Yep. We never talked about that, and we still have never talked about it.
I mean, do you wish that she had spoken to you before she just abruptly quit?
Well, I always would hope that the last thing that I ever want to do is break relationship with anyone, and I have long respected her and counted her as a friend, and I have decided to not take it personally because she didn't say she quit me. She said she wasn't going to be on the committee anymore. Yes, I wish that we could have had a talk, and at some point, we probably will. But sometimes when emotions are running high, it might be the wiser thing to not engage in that conversation until both parties are ready. You know what's also true, but not nearly so funny?
Speaking of emotions,
Bills that have serious issues.
as a committee chair, you had a lot of attention drawn, pointed at you. A lot of it not so good this session. I mean, you've seen it.
Yeah, I wasn't the favorite for everyone, that's for sure.
What do you think about this push and some of the, especially on social media, some of this rhetoric?
Right. Well, it might disappoint some of those folks to know I don't go on and I make a point of not looking at any of it because I think it's designed to intimidate, to cause fear, and I saw what they did with other legislators, and so I knew it was coming. And as a believer, I don't believe that that's how we should treat people, even when we don't agree with what they're doing.
Representative Yamamoto says she's seen it because people have sent it to her.
I kidded to my husband. I said, well, it's the only way I'll make it onto the cover of Playboy, you know. And it was one of my better pictures, so I thought, well, okay. I guess I would just say that's not how I would go about letting someone know that I'm not happy with how they're approaching something or their opinion of something. I still find it somewhat amusing, only that, it's gotten so mean-spirited that it's lost a lot of its humor.
What does this mean, a vote of no confidence?
Well, I know to them it means that they are hoping that the central committees will have more decision-making ability over who the candidates are. And what they're really trying to do is that they want to weed out people that they feel like are not as conservative, not as, well, I guess I'll just leave it at that because they don't appreciate being called either far right or extremist. When you raise your right hand and take your oath, it wasn't to follow the Republican platform, it was to make sure that whatever you did follows the U.S. Constitution and the Idaho Constitution. The platform should give guidance as to what those that are at the meeting believe, but let's remember that it wasn't that many sessions ago in a winter meeting when somebody brought up that they wanted Klingon to be the official language of the Idaho GOP.
Yes.
So, let's be willing to at least admit that maybe the 500 or 600 people there were able to get 300, 400 people to vote for these different things, but does that really represent all of Idaho? If it's good law, then let's make sure that all parts of it are good and that we mitigate for unintended consequences. Can we always do all of it? No, but just to say, well, let's get it on the books and then we'll fix it as we need to, I don't think that that's why anyone should be elected, is to come and just see how many bills you can pass and then fix them when you need to.
Are you worried about the direction of the party?
Yes. I think it's, this is how I see it. I don't know if you're familiar with a cowbird, but a cowbird lays their egg in a different bird's nest, and then they take off to do whatever cowbirds do. And when that egg hatches, that baby birds larger than the other ones, and so is more apt to get the food, or even will push out other baby birds so that there isn't competition. I think they are radicalized. I think it is extreme, and I think they are the Republicans in name only. They're the cowbirds who have come in, and they're trying to take over and tell us, as Idahoans who have lived here all of our lives, or even people who have come and who have accepted this is how we do things in Idaho, that it's not good enough. And all this fear and anger is fomented, and it raises money, and it's can be distilled to bumper stickers and little 3-word phrases that stick in people's mind. Doesn't mean it's right.
Representative Yamamoto told us she truly believes Idahoans don't want more laws, they just want reasonable ones. And what she heard again and again from them before and during the session: property tax, oh, and education. But too often social issues take over, and while they may be worth a consideration, they do take a lot of time. And she wonders how you balance those with what constituents really want and, of course, what the Constitution says. She also told us she had friends come up to her, who she's known for years, and say, porn given to children, is that what you want? Representative Yamamoto believes this false dichotomy debate technique needs to be set aside, at least at the Idaho State House.